Have you ever wondered if that persistent ache, that unusual fatigue, or that nagging cough you've been ignoring might be your body's way of trying to tell you something critical about your health? Picture this moment that happens in doctors' offices across America every single day. A person sits across from their physician, hearing words they never expected to hear, realizing that the subtle signs their body had been sending for months were actually urgent messages they chose to dismiss. The quiet regret in their voice as they say, "I wish I had known sooner," echoes a painful truth that millions of us face. We've become experts at explaining away our body's whispers, convincing ourselves that discomfort is just part of getting older, when sometimes it's our body's desperate attempt to protect us from something far more serious. Here's what no one wants to admit. Your body starts sending you warning signals long before cancer becomes a crisis. But most of us have learned to silence these messages with excuses, hoping they'll simply disappear. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you the 10 specific signs that your body uses to communicate danger. Signs that could mean the difference between catching something early when it's treatable and facing a battle that didn't have to be so difficult. Number 1. Cancer process and causes. Right now, as you're listening to these words, millions of cells in your body are quietly working together, following the same blueprint they've followed for decades. But sometimes something goes terribly wrong. A cell loses its way, forgets its purpose, and begins to multiply without any regard for the delicate balance that keeps you healthy. Think of your body as a well-orchestrated community where every cell has a job and knows when to stop working. Cancer is like a rebellion within this community. These rogue cells don't just grow where they shouldn't, they actively recruit other cells to join their destructive mission. They form masses we call tumors, and like an invasive species in a garden, they crowd out the healthy tissue that your organs need to function properly. What makes this even more frightening is how many everyday things can trigger this cellular rebellion. That cigarette your neighbor still sneaks behind the garage. The exhaust fumes you breathe walking through the parking lot. The processed foods that have become so convenient in our busy lives. Even the genes passed down from parents who never knew they carried this hidden burden. Your immune system, which has protected you for so many years, can become weakened by stress, poor sleep, or simply the natural aging process. Here's what you need to understand. Cancer doesn't usually announce itself with fanfare. It whispers before it shouts. It starts as a single confused cell, then becomes a small cluster, then a mass that begins to change how your body feels and functions. The key is learning to hear those whispers before they become screams. The good news is that knowledge gives you power. When you understand what's happening inside your body, you can make choices that strengthen your natural defenses and catch problems while they're still manageable. Number 2. Types of cancer. Votre corps est comme une maison avec plusieurs pièces, et le cancer peut malheureusement frapper à n'importe quelle porte. With over 100 different types of cancer, it can feel overwhelming to think about all the places this disease might appear. But understanding this isn't meant to frighten you, it's meant to prepare you. Some cancers are like burglars who break in quietly through the back door. Stomach cancer and breast cancer are particularly cunning this way. They can grow for months, even years, causing symptoms so mild that you might dismiss them as normal aging. That slight heaviness in your stomach after meals, the bloating that comes and goes, the tender spot you notice occasionally. These aren't always just signs of getting older. Imagine Sarah, a 68 ans de grand-mère qui aimait cuisiner pour sa famille. For months, she felt a little full after eating, sometimes a bit of heartburn. She blamed it on rich holiday foods and stressful family gatherings. It wasn't until the discomfort became constant that she finally saw her doctor. By then, what had started as whispers had become something much more serious. The tragedy is that early-stage stomach and breast cancers are often highly treatable. When caught in their first attempts to establish themselves, doctors have many tools to stop them completely. But these particular cancers are master disguisers, hiding behind symptoms that seem so ordinary, so much like the minor aches and changes we expect as we age. This is why paying attention to your body's subtle changes becomes so crucial. Not every ache is cancer, but every persistent change deserves respect and attention. Your body has been your faithful companion for decades, and it deserves the courtesy of being heard when it's trying to tell you something important. Number 3. Signe précurseur et conséquence du délaissement. Il y a un moment qui hante beaucoup de survivants du cancer, le moment où ils réalisent qu'ils savaient quelque chose wrong much earlier than they admitted to themselves. It's the weight of wondering what if that can be almost as heavy as the diagnosis itself. Picture this common scene. You've been feeling more tired than usual, maybe some stomach discomfort that comes and goes, a cough that lingers longer than it should. In your mind, you create perfectly reasonable explanations. The fatigue is from not sleeping well. The stomach issues are from stress or something you ate. The cough is just the tail end of that cold everyone's been passing around. This is how our minds protect us, but sometimes that protection becomes a trap. We become so skilled at explaining away symptoms that we miss our body's early warning system entirely. Meanwhile, if cancer is present, it's using this precious time to establish itself more firmly, to grow stronger, to spread beyond its original boundaries. The heartbreaking truth is that cancer caught in its first stage has cure rates that would surprise you. Many early-stage cancers have survival rates above 0.25%. But each month that passes without detection, each symptom that gets dismissed, can shift those odds dramatically. What could have been a brief interruption in your life becomes a much longer, more challenging battle. Think of your body's warning signs like smoke detectors in your home. You wouldn't ignore a smoke detector because you can't see flames. You wouldn't assume it's malfunctioning just because you don't smell smoke. You'd investigate because the cost of being wrong is too high. The same principle applies to persistent symptoms that seem minor but won't go away. That nagging fatigue, that recurring discomfort, that cough that's lasted 3 weeks, they deserve the same urgent attention you'd give a smoke alarm. Number 4. Cancer de l'estomac. Margaret pensait que c'était juste le fait de vieillir. À 72 ans, elle a estimé que se sentir rassasiée après de plus petits repas était simplement le moyen de son corps de lui dire de ralentir. The occasional burning sensation, the bloating that made her favorite dress feel tight, these seemed like natural consequences of a lifetime of family dinners and holiday celebrations. Pour près d'un an, Margaret s'est adaptée. She ate smaller portions, avoided spicy foods, took over-the-counter antacids. She told her daughter she was just being more careful about her diet. But deep inside, in that quiet place where we keep our worries, she knew something felt different about her body. Stomach cancer is particularly cruel because it grows in an organ we expect to give us trouble as we age. A little heartburn ici, un peu d'indigestion là-bas, qui parmi nous n'a pas connu ces choses-là? The cancer uses our expectations against us, hiding behind symptoms that seem so ordinary we barely mention them to our doctors during routine visits. What makes this even more challenging is that the stomach is tucked deep inside your body, where small tumors can grow undetected for months. Unlike a lump you might feel on your skin, stomach cancer develops in the shadows, gradually changing how you digest food, how comfortable you feel after eating, how much energy you have throughout the day. But here's what gives me hope, and what should give you hope too. When stomach cancer is caught early, before it has had time to spread, treatment can be remarkably successful. The key is recognizing that persistent stomach discomfort, especially when it's different from what you've experienced before, deserves medical attention. Don't let anyone, including yourself, dismiss ongoing stomach problems as just part of aging. Your body has been digesting food successfully for decades. When that process changes significantly, your body is trying to communicate something important. Number 5. Cancer du sang. Votre sang est comme une rivière qui s'écoule à travers chaque partie de votre corps, transportant de l'oxygène à votre cerveau, des nutriments à votre muscle, and fighting off infections wherever they try to take hold. When cancer attacks this river, it affects everything downstream. Blood cancer is different from other cancers because it doesn't form a solid tumor you can point to on an X-ray. Instead, it infiltrates the very cells that keep you alive and healthy. Your red blood cells, which carry oxygen, your white blood cells, which fight infection, and your platelets, which help you heal from cuts and bruises, all can be affected. Robert, à 69 ans, retraité professeur, a d'abord remarqué qu'il s'épuisait plus facilement pendant ses promenades matinales. Then he started getting colds that seemed to last forever, and small cuts took longer to stop bleeding. He chalked it up to age and the stress of his wife's recent health problems. But his body was actually dealing with blood cells that were no longer doing their jobs effectively. The symptoms of blood cancer can be frustratingly vague. Fatigue that doesn't improve with rest. Infections that your body can't seem to shake off. Bruising from minor bumps that would have barely left a mark before. Fever that comes and goes without an obvious cause. These symptoms whisper rather than shout, and they can easily be mistaken for the natural ups and downs of aging. What's crucial to understand is that blood cancer comes in different forms. Some developed rapidement et demanded une attention immédiate. Others develop slowly over months or years, gradually weakening your body's natural defenses. But regardless of type, early detection gives doctors the best chance to restore your blood to its proper function. If you've noticed persistent fatigue, frequent infections, or unusual bleeding or bruising, these aren't things to monitor casually. Your blood deserves the same urgent attention you'd give any other life-sustaining system in your body. Number 6. Bone cancer. Pain is supposed to have a purpose. When you twist your ankle, the pain tells you to rest it. When you bang your shin on the coffee table, the pain is sharp but temporary. But bone cancer brings a different kind of pain, one that doesn't follow the usual rules. Imagine waking up with an ache in your leg or back that you can't trace to any injury or overexertion. At first, you might think you slept wrong or moved furniture you'd forgotten about. You take some ibuprofen, apply heat, maybe rest more. But this pain has its own agenda. It doesn't respond to the remedies that have always worked before, and it has the audacity to wake you up at night. Franck, à 71 ans, grand-père, a d'abord remarqué la douleur dans sa jambe gauche en jouant avec ses petits-enfants dans le jardin. But unlike the familiar aches from yard work or exercise, this pain lingered and seemed to intensify when he tried to rest. Walking became uncomfortable, then difficult, then something he started avoiding altogether. Bone cancer pain is persistent and progressive. It doesn't come and go like arthritis pain. It doesn't respond well to over-the-counter pain relievers. And it often gets worse at night when you're trying to sleep and your body should be healing and restoring itself. If the cancer affects your spine, you might also experience numbness in your arms or legs, weakness that makes climbing stairs challenging, or balance problems that leave you feeling unsteady. Here's what you need to know. Bone pain that persists for more than a few weeks, especially if it's not related to an injury, deserves immediate medical evaluation. Your bones have supported you faithfully for decades. When they start sending distress signals, they're not being dramatic or seeking attention. They're asking for help. Don't let anyone convince you that severe, persistent bone pain is just part of getting older. Your bones know the difference between normal wear and something more serious. Number 7. Cancer de la gorge. Votre voix est l'un de vos plus personnelles possessions. It carries your laughter, your words of love, your lifetime of stories. When throat cancer begins to develop, it often announces itself by stealing small pieces of this precious gift. Men face a higher risk of throat cancer, particularly those who have smoked or used tobacco products over the years. But even if you quit smoking decades ago, even if you were only exposed to secondhand smoke, your throat may still carry the memory of that exposure. The cancer can develop slowly, making subtle changes that you might initially dismiss. Consider James, a 67 ans homme qui a arrêté de fumer 20 ans plus tôt. He started clearing his throat more often, especially in the morning. His voice became slightly hoarse after talking for long periods. He assumed it was allergies or maybe acid reflux, but his body was actually dealing with changes in his throat tissue that required urgent attention. Throat cancer symptoms can seem deceptively minor at first, a persistent cough that doesn't respond to cough drops or antibiotics. Changes in your voice that don't improve after resting your vocal cords. The feeling that something is stuck in your throat, even when you haven't eaten. Difficulté à avaler qui vous fait éviter certains aliments ou manger plus soigneusement que d'habitude. You might also notice lumps in your neck that weren't there before, or breathing that becomes slightly more difficult during normal activities. These aren't symptoms to monitor or treat at home. They're your body's way of saying that something in your throat needs professional medical attention. The encouraging news is that throat cancer, when caught early, often responds well to treatment. But time is crucial. Don't let embarrassment or fear keep you from having persistent throat symptoms evaluated promptly. Number 8. Prévention et sensibilisation. Chaque jour dans les cabinets médicaux du pays, les médecins délivrent des nouvelles qui changent des vies pour toujours. But some of the most hopeful moments happen when they can say, "We caught this early." We have many options. Your prognosis is excellent. The difference between these two scenarios often comes down to one thing: paying attention to your body before symptoms become severe. You've lived in your body for decades. You know its rhythms, its usual aches and pains, its normal responses to stress, food, and activity. This intimate knowledge is your greatest asset in detecting when something changes. That persistent fatigue that doesn't improve with rest. The cough that lingers semaines après votre rhume est parti. The stomach discomfort that's different from your usual indigestion. The tragedy isn't that these symptoms exist, it's that too many people have been conditioned to dismiss them. We live in a culture that celebrates pushing through discomfort, that treats concern about our health as weakness or hypochondria. But your body doesn't send false alarms. When it persistently signals that something is wrong, it deserves to be heard. Early detection n'est pas seulement un terme médical, c'est une stratégie qui sauve des vies. Cancer caught in its first stage before it has had time to spread often has cure rates that would surprise you. Many people go on to live full, healthy lives with no recurrence. But each month that passes without detection can change those odds dramatically. Your health is not something to gamble with, and persistent symptoms are not something to explain away. Regular checkups, honest conversations with your doctor, and immediate attention to unusual changes in your body, these aren't signs of being overly cautious. They're signs of being wise, of valuing the life you've built and the people who depend on you, being healthy and present in their lives. Your body has been your faithful companion through decades of life's joys and challenges. It has carried you through raising children, building careers, and creating the memories that define who you are today. After all these years together, it deserves the respect of being heard when it tries to tell you something important. The warning signs we've discussed today aren't meant to frighten you. They're meant to empower you. Knowledge is the greatest gift you can give yourself at this stage of life. When you understand what persistent fatigue really means, when you recognize that ongoing stomach discomfort isn't just aging, when you know that a cough lasting semaines mérite attention, vous avez le pouvoir de changer votre propre histoire. Early detection n'est pas seulement un terme médical. It's hope wrapped in action. It's the difference between a brief detour and a long, difficult journey. It's the gift of more birthdays, more holidays, more quiet mornings with your coffee, and more evenings with the people you love. You've earned the wisdom to trust your instincts. You've lived long enough to know when something feels different in your body. Don't let anyone, including yourself, dismiss that wisdom as worry or convince you that discomfort is just part of getting older. Which of these warning signs resonated most deeply with you today? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Si cette information pourrait aider quelqu'un que vous aimez, veuillez la lui partager. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is help each other stay alert to what our bodies are trying to tell us. Take care of yourself. You're worth every moment of attention and care you can give. Until we talk again, listen to your body. It's been talking to you your whole life, and it's not going to stop now.